ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಶುರುವಾಗೋದಿದೆ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಭಿಕರು ತಮ್ಮ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಫೋನನ್ನು ಸ್ವಿಚ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೋಡಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಸೈಲೆಂಟ್ ಮೋಡಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡಬೇಕು ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಅತಿಥಿಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗಮಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅತಿಥಿಗಳನ್ನ ಈಗ ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಬರಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂಥ ಸಮಯ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ ಏನು ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳ ಮಾರಾಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅದರ ರಾಯಲ್ಟಿ ಗೋಶಾಲೆ ಒಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್ ಅವರು ನಿರ್ಧಾರ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಮಾರಾಟ ಆದಂಥ ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳ ರಾಯಲ್ಟಿನ ಹಣ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ಗೋಶಾಲೆಗೆ ಸಲ್ಲತ್ತೆ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಉಲ್ಲೇಖ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬಯಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಈಗ ಅತಿಥಿಗಳನ್ನ ವೇದಿಕೆ ಕರೆಯುವಂಥ ಸಮಯ. ಅತಿಥಿಗಳನ್ನ ವೇದಿಕೆ ಕರೀತೀನಿ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಅತಿಥಿಗಳಾದಂಥ ಶ್ರೀಯುತ ವಿ ನಾಗರಾಜ್, ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ತೇಜಸ್ವಿನಿ ಅನಂತಕುಮಾರ್, ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿಯ ವೈಸ್ ಚಾನ್ಸಲರ್ ಆದಂಥ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ KR ವೇಣುಗೋಪಾಲ್ ಮತ್ತು ಲೇಖಕರಾದಂಥ ಎಂ ಆರ್ ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್ ಅವರು ವೇದಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಅಲಂಕರಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಪ್ರಾರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಪದ್ಧತಿಯಂತೆ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆ. ಕುಮಾರಿ ಚಿನ್ಮಯಿ ಸತೀಶ್ ಅವರು.
ಶ್ರೀ ಶಾರದಾ ಮಾತೆ ಶ್ರೀ ಪಾವನ ಮೂರ್ತೆ ಕಮಲ ಸಂಭವ ಪ್ರೀತೆ ಕರವ ಜೋಡಿಸಿ ನಮಿತೆ ಶ್ರೀ ಶಾರದಾ ಮಾತೆ ಸುರನರ ವಂದಿತಳೆ ಸತ್ಯಲೋಕ ಪ್ರಿಯಳೆ ಸುರನರ ವಂದಿತಳೆ ಸತ್ಯಲೋಕ ಪ್ರಿಯಳೆ ಸಾಮಗಾನ ವಿಲೋಲೆ ಸರಸಿಜಾ ಭವರಾಣಿ ಸಾಮಗಾನ ವಿಲೋಲೆ ಸರಸಿಜಾ ಭವರಾಣಿ ಶ್ರೀ ಶಾರದಾ ಮಾತೆ ಶ್ರೀ ಪಾವನ ಮೂರ್ತೆ ಕಮಲ ಸಂಭವ ಪ್ರೀತೆ ಕರವ ಜೋಡಿಸಿ ನಮಿತೆ ಶ್ರೀ ಶಾರದಾ ಮಾತೆ ಮಯೂರ ವಾಹನಳೆ ಮರಾಳಗಾಮಿನಿಯೇ ಮಯೂರ ವಾಹನಳೆ ಮರಾಳಗಾಮಿನಿಯೇ ಮುನಿಜನ ವಂದಿತಳೆ ಮಣಿವೆನ ಶಾರದೆಯೇ ಮುನಿಜನ ವಂದಿತಳೆ ಮಣಿವೆನ ಶಾರದೆ ಶ್ರೀ ಶಾರದಾ ಮಾತೆ ಶ್ರೀ ಪಾವನ ಮೂರ್ತೆ ಕಮಲ ಸಂಭವ ಪ್ರೀತೆ ಕರವ ಜೋಡಿಸಿ ನಮಿತೆ ಶ್ರೀ ಶಾರದಾ ಮಾತೆ.
Now I request the dignitaries to light the lamp.
दीपं ज्योतिपरब्रह्म दीपं सर्वतमोपहं दीपेन साध्यते सर्वं सन्ध्यादीपं नमोऽस्तुते।
Now may I request Dr. Giridhar Upadhyaya, Professor in KIMS and active social worker, to introduce the guests on the dais and welcome them.
Rashtra Devo Bhava. A hearty welcome to one and all. I would like to welcome Shri V. Nagaraj for today's function. A brief introduction about Shri V. Nagaraj, a bachelor who has dedicated his entire life to serve Ma Bharati, an active worker of Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh from the past 47 years. At present, he is the Kshetriya Sangha Chalak of Dakshina Madhya Kshetra, that is a south central zone comprising of states of Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. He is also an honorary secretary of Mythic Society, a century-old internationally known society for studies in history, archaeology, with a fantastic library. He is a managing committee member of Gokhale Institute of Public Affairs, a renowned institute of Bengaluru, member of the Karnataka Itihasa Academy. He was also a former editor of Science Poster Project on Ancient Indian Science, has lectured on ancient Indians' contribution to science in more than 300 schools and colleges. He has given lectures on freedom movement, the first war of independence of 1857, on great personalities like Swami Vivekananda, Yogi Sri Aurobindo, eminent scientists and freedom fighters in schools, colleges, youth camps and public platforms. A hearty welcome to Sri V. Nagaraj. We have another distinguished guest today, Vice Chancellor of Bangalore University, Dr. Venugopal K.R. He was the principal of University Visheshraya College of Engineering, famously called as UVC, for 15 years, Chairman, Department of Electronics and Communications, Computer Science Engineering and Information Science Engineering. He has distinguished and brilliant academic career with 11 degrees, including 2 PhDs, one in economics from the Bangalore University, under the guidance of famous Professor Venkatagiri Gowda, and a PhD in Computer Science and Engineering from IIT Madras. He has authored and edited 72 books in economics and computer science. He has published more than 950 papers in referred international conference and journals, and has a Google Scholar citation H index of 33. He has filed 24 patents and 14 patents have been awarded. He has established 2 engineering colleges and 2 schools in Bangalore, a multifaceted personality. He has received Anna University National Award, National Hindi Scholarship Award, National Merit Scholarship Award, Kulapati Gold and Silver medals. There are a big list of awards which he has received. After assuming the charge of Vice Chancellor of Bangalore University, several reforms in examination, academic, administration, finance, developmental and infrastructures work has been initiated by him. He is a social worker, philanthropist, wonderful achiever, researcher, inventor, a very simple and pleasant personality. A hearty welcome to Dr. Venugopal. One more guest who is occupying the dais is a multifaceted personality, Srimati Tejaswini Anantkumar. She really needs no introduction. And first and foremost, I would like to congratulate her for getting the Swatantra Amrita Mahotsava Rajya Prashasti, Adamya Chetana, which she received yesterday. Her achievements are spread across working on LCA project, founding Adamya Chetana and driving several firsts in green lifestyle, environmental changes, all in her own unique way. Srimati Tejaswini Anantkumar founded and runs Adamya Chetana since 1997. This was set up in the memory of Srimati Girija Shastri, mother of her husband late Sri Anantkumar. Sri Anantkumar was the chief patron of Adamya Chetana at that time. Adamya Chetana works on three core themes: Anna, Akshara, Arogya, along with several initiatives on rural development and environmental issues. She worked at Adamya Chetana through dozens of projects, has positively impacted nourishment, learning and health of lakhs of underprivileged children, and improved the condition in many villages and helping increase green cover of the Bangalore. Since 2006, Srimati Tejaswini is a founder trustee of Sri Shankara Cancer Foundation, a 250-bedded state-of-art charitable hospital in not-for-profit organization with its core focus on cure and prevention of cancer. Now it is 540-bedded hospital. That's fantastic. Srimati Tejaswini Anantkumar worked as a scientist in ADA when it was headed by none other than Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam between 1993 and 97 on the Light Combat Aircraft LCA Tejas project. During her student life, she was very active in all levels of Akhila Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad ABVP, organizing various students' activities. She served as State Joint Secretary and even as National Executive Member of ABVP. A very, very hearty welcome to Srimati Tejaswini Anantkumar. I also welcome the print and electronic media people who have come to cover this program. And at 6 o'clock, somebody asked, there are only about 20 people sitting here. M.R. Venkatesh, a hearty welcome to him. He will be introduced. I left him out because there is a special introduction of Sri M.R. Venkatesh by Nikun Shah, which will be done. But I forgot to welcome you to this function. A very, very hearty welcome to Sri M.R. Venkatesh. Nikun Shah will introduce the book as well as the author. And at 6 o'clock they asked, only about 20 people are here, whether people will come to the program. I said this is an area, Basavangudi is an area where people know the time at which they have to come to the program. They will be taking a walk in that park and you see at 6:15 they will be here, I said. And that's what happened. Even though there is a series of holidays from the 31st onwards, it's fantastic to see a crowd of around 100 during the COVID restriction time. A very, very hearty welcome to one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Giridhar Upadhyaya. Now may I request Sri Nikun Shah to introduce the book as well as the author.
Namaste and good evening, dignitaries on the dais, members of the media, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great honor to be here this evening to introduce and launch the book, Retaining Balance, The Eternal Way. The pleasure is all greater when it happens that the book in question has been written by someone who is very dear friend of mine and who I speak on a regular basis. It is of course very tempting for me to claim that I taught M.R. Venkatesh all he knows, but while I like to think that some amount of my wit and wisdom might have been transmitted to him, I have to be honest and say, now that I've read this book, that there's a great deal in it which he has taught me, and I may say at the outset, he has done so in a very entertaining manner. Retaining balance is a fascinating approach to deal with challenges faced by disciplines of economics. This work critically analyzes the prevalent conundrum of policy framers who place too much reliance on individual, in the process ignoring traditional institutions of family, society, and community. The rampant individualism in turn results in excesses leading to proliferation of either coercive state or extortionist market. Retaining balance traces this conundrum to Christian theology or original sin and broken self, necessitating salvation through an external agent, the state of markets in the first place. This arrangement has spawned a series of excesses resulting in extant microeconomics imbalances. Retaining balances argues with the institution of family rooted to civilizational restraints alone can deal with such individual excesses. Importantly, it seeks to introduce the grand idea of individual duties along with fundamental rights to balance the skew in our constitutional arrangements. A must-read for people in power. Now let me introduce you Sri M.R. Venkatesh. Sri M.R. Venkatesh is one of the leading advocates on economic criminal laws and mouths out after legal profession. He is also a keen student of economics and politics. As a professional, he is an advisor to several corporates and promoters on complex transactions involving cross-disciplinary expertise. His earlier book titled Sense, Sensex and Sentiments has been acknowledged by experts as one of the pioneering works in the field of anti-money laundering. He is a ranker in the final examination of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and well recognized for his professional integrity and acumen. MRV, as he is fondly called by his friends, is a rare breed of advocates who brings trans-professional approach to the table. He has completed his doctoral thesis on the issue of agriculture subsidies with Shastra University. He has authored Global Imbalances and Impending Dollar Crisis, TR publication 2007, Sense, Sensex and Sentiments, Failure of India's Financial Sentiments, KW Publishers in 2011, Dr. Manmohan Singh, A Decade of Decay, Rare Book Publishers 2013. He's a regular panelist in leading channels in India and also columnist in various print medias. MRV in his book has extensively covered family, marriage, culture, civilization, monogamy, polygamy, economics, implosion, discipline, excess, rights, duties, citizens, society, welfare, markets, crisis, taxes, finance, failure, original sin, feminism, entropy, rights, state, individualism, constitution, gender equity, new economic order, balance, civilization, economics, Ramaraja. He hasn't left out anything. Family as a balancer between, he's also mentioned very clearly, family as a balancer between man and woman, individual and society, society and state, state and citizens, savings and consumptions, consumptions and productions, production and environment, piety and progress, progress and security, security and tolerance, divine intervention, individual initiative, initiative and excesses, markets and garments, liberty and equality, equality and equity, equity and welfare, welfare and taxes, taxes and citizens, citizens and rights, rights and duties. I think it's a very comprehensive book that he's written. Now I'm going to go chapter by chapter of what he's actually meant in each of the chapters. It consists of 10 chapters. The first chapter is Strange Alliances and Strange Bedfellows. If conservative Islam believes in polygamy, the modern liberal world does not believe in the institution of marriage at all. That is a challenge before us. The strange yet powerful alliance of those who believe in theological underpinnings of polygamy and those who do not believe in the institute of marriage itself. That is the strange alliance this is. His second chapter is it's very unique in the terms of his name. Mummy, what is daddy? The net consequence of all this is the world remains exceedingly imbalanced between polygamous societies and societies where there is a virtual need for marriages. The third option of monogamous society is the one that is sustainable in the long run and one that provides balance. The core idea of the book seems to have been lost on most economists of the world. The third chapter is to destroy family It's very nicely put, the Marx goes to market. Marx goes to market. As families are under a frontal attack, first by leftists and subsequently by the liberal counterbalancing mechanism, so is the vital functioning of the macroeconomy when solely missing. That explains why a discipline of economics has turned into a study of indiscipline. The fourth chapter deals with culture, emerging frontiers of economics. In effect, are economic ideas workable with the benign presence of family? Is family and culture the emerging frontier of modern economics? The fifth chapter, a case for missing middle. A monogamous family based on best society and set of economic policies that would reflect the aspirations of such a society would be more for the world peace and the consequent good to the global economy than probably any other policy. The earlier world realizes, the better it is. The sixth chapter deals with In Search of Utopia. It is time to rebalance our relationship with the state, with family, to form a new triumvirate. It is time to work out a new equation between our individual rights and duties. The seventh chapter is very interesting. The taxes are the price we pay for our civilization, is it? This time around, we Bharatiya owe it to the world to provide a new order, global order based on individual duties and responsibilities. That alone will make constitution, family and society functional. To do so, we need to get rid of our split personality syndrome, simultaneously between being an Indian and also a Bharati. The eighth chapter deals with economic reforms or reforms in economics. Crucially, we redefine economics and reforms in economics as a discipline before we spell out what we seek from economic reforms. Simply put it is not that India, for that matter, the world that is in search of economic reforms. It is economics that is in search of reforms. The ninth chapter, the power of restraint. The biggest problem is not let our people accept new ideas, but to let them forget the old ones. We may be wise to remember what we have forgotten for too long to our own peril. Economics is after all a social science. And the last chapter, Rama Rajya, is less of Lord Rama, more of Rajya. We must not place the broken self central to the constitutional construct, but we must include the divinity of ourself in our remaking of the constitutional order. That would simply imply reimagining Rama Rajya, one where there is less of emphasis on Lord Rama, that is the government, but a more renowned focus on Rajya, the nation. And that would simply imply reorienting our policies to focus on self rather than broken self. Having dissected each chapter on its merit, in a new India where the nation is charting the course to be superpower, this book is a timely reminder that the solution may lie in our cultural and civilizational roots. Retaining balance the eternal way is an essential first step for all those looking to understand how our economic system can level up. I am sure it will make any reader see the Indian economy and global economy from the whole new lens. I now congratulate MRV on this wonderful book and wish him all the success and wider readership of this book, which will influence and change minds from the cultural and family point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikunja, for introducing the book as well as the author. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಕಾಯ್ತಿದ್ದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಪುಸ್ತಕದ ಲೋಕಾರ್ಪಣೆ, releasing and launching of the book. May I request the dignitaries on the dais to release the book.
Nikunj? No, I am coming. Nikunj? Yeah. Come up. Come up with your copy. Come up with your copy.
Now I request Dr. Venugopal, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Bangalore University, to speak about the book and the economics.
ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಆಸೀನರಾಗಿರುವ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗಣ್ಯರೇ, my mentor and my friend ಶ್ರೀ ವಿ ನಾಗರಾಜ್ ಅವರೇ, ಮತ್ತು ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬರು ನನಗೆ 3 ದಶಕಗಳಿಂದ ಪರಿಚಯ ಇರೋರು ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ತೇಜಸ್ವಿನಿ ಅನಂತಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರೇ, ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕೇಂದ್ರ ಬಿಂದು ಆಗಿರುವ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ M.R. ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್, I've been in teaching profession for the last 42 years. I've been teaching computer science and engineering. I have a degree in economics, PhD in economics. My degree in economics was before my PhD in computer science. And I was the first student to get PhD in economics under Professor Venkatagiri Gowda, who was the BJP MP of the Bangalore South constituency then in 1991. Just a month back, when Prasanna asked me to come to this function at Indian Institute of World Culture and participate in this function, then I thought the first chapter, strange bedfellows and strange relationships. My mentor V. Nagaraj and a social worker Tejaswini, a chartered accountant, and sandwiched between them is a person who is a generalist, can talk on anything and everything. But when I went through this book, I could not go through this book completely, but I had some time to go through the first 100 pages. Then I gave up. This is not a book which can be just read. If it has to be read, you must be very calm and you must have time. It talks about everything in this world, but keeps that core as the family for all what we see in this world. And if you hear the chapters which are in this book, it talks about sociology, economics, political science, history and whatnot. And if you see that, the range and diversity of the topics which has been dealt and crystallized into a title called Retaining Balance, the Eternal Way. I thought I should read this book after I finish my term as Vice Chancellor. Sir, every page in this book every sentence in this book is well thought, well written, and there is no parallel. And when I started reading, usually I read the book from first page to the last page, every sentence. And I was trying to read what other authors and what others thought about this book. Rich have got richer, and masses are still reeling under extreme poverty and hunger. This is the theme of your book. Whatever you say finally, it will say the rich are becoming richer and the poor are no better. And in his narration, Arnab Goswami has just written one striking paragraph which I would like to quote here. M.R. Venkatesh has studied, broken down, condensed, analyzed, and questioned the ideas of those like Adam Smith, Keynes, Francis, William Tucker, Samuel, Paul Kenger, and Harari. And still, when I come to the preface, Venkatesh says, I have not postulated any theories, I have not spoken about any principles of economics, but the in-depth knowledge which is acquired by going through thousands and thousands of books. I am very sure that this cannot be achieved in one's lifetime, but he has been able to do in a matter of 18 months. And that is a great thing to, appreciate in him. How was that possible for you to go write about each and every author and those books and so in-depth analysis and quote and make a statement about them, criticize them, and then still come out with such a magnificent book, and somebody calls this at the page as magnum opus. I'm really wondering, sir, as to how to really describe you with this book. It's not possible. He's a chartered accountant and talks about economics. An advocate. And when I was just thinking about him, I was thinking about myself. I am also an advocate, I am also an engineer, I am also an economist, but I'm sure that I will not be able to write a book like this in my lifetime. I have written the textbooks for computer science students, some economics books, and edited books from whatever my guide has written to the then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. But I am fascinated. And I also say, when I saw the title, Manmohan Singh, A Decade of Decay, Professor Venkatagiri Gowda has written thousands of letters to Manmohan Singh during this time when he was a BJP MP and Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister. And I used to collect all those material and give it to Professor Venkatagiri Gowda. And now here is an irony that I sit beside an author who has been able to pinpoint, analyze, and criticize. Criticize in a positive way. Sir, today I'm blessed that I'm sitting beside you because you are an author and I have published 72 books. But that is for children, postgraduate, undergraduate student. This has to be read by every professor of economics, sociology, and political science. Because when I see the chapters, here, so you start from sociology. From sociology, you move on to economics. From economics, you move on to political science and constitutional rights and duties. You made a mention of Professor S. Gurumurthy and Subramanya Swamy, this book. They are great stalwarts in their own fields. How you have been able to converse with them, and how you have been able to grasp and extract that knowledge from them. Because when I see this book, I see that light or enlightenment that you have got from Gurumurthy. So I congratulate you for this achievement, and may God give you strength, health, and a long life to write many more such books, which will be a eye-opener to the various experts in this country. Sir, in your book, you said that you have described that family is the fulcrum, center point of entire economy, the world economy. When you talk about monogamy, when you talk about polygamy, when you talk about various forms of marriages, and then when you say monogamy marriage is fundamental to the various propositions, economic propositions that has been proposed, practiced in this world. Colonialism, in words of Gurumurthy, came as a tornado and lasted for 200 years. Capitalism followed colonialism and it lasted for 100 years. Communism could survive for 50 years. Then socialism, liberalism, and now we have globalism. I write global instead of globalization, I use globalism. This is the land of isms. When you see that structure, the fundamental and the foremost thing which you have to analyze, or the central point of those economics, is the family structure. How a family is able to impact all your isms which I have now mentioned. I always used to say that bigger the family, the profit margin is reduced. That's what others say. The producer and the consumer is in this Rama Ramarajya and the self-reliant village. When you move towards globalization and Mahatma Gandhi's Ramarajya, they are on the two poles of the globe. So there, when you move to the two poles, you see family as a binding structure in this entire economy. And so when the author talks about family as a balancer between so many man, woman, individual society, just now Shaw has enunciated this. I was wondering how throughout our life that we only think about economy, acquiring wealth, and that was one of the reasons why I took up economics. When I was doing electronics engineering, I thought economics should be read by each and every one. And when I see this book, I see M.G. Venkatesh that whatever I thought, that is true. India is a great country. Bharat is a very great country. Why was it self-sufficient? It is because of Ramarajya. And that's what the author goes on to describe how we talk about Ramarajya, less of Ram and more of Rajya. Rajya means here it talks about economy. Forget Ram, because we always land up in controversy. But Rajya, the economy, is the fundamental engine of this civilization on earth. You see a strong relation between family structure and economy. When you see the American economy, it is a spending economy. When you see an Indian economy, it is a saving economy. Spending and saving. There, they spend and then they start earning. Here, you earn and then save and then spend. While an American economy thinks about social benefits, you must all know that 1/3 of the American budget is earmarked for family, old age pension, unemployment benefits. But all that is indeed in our Indian economy, which does not include that in all this thing. If you have to, the parents, grandparents are all looked after by our children, grandchildren. But that is not so in an American economy. So you have to have a separate budget. And if you include all that budget in our budget, it will be much bigger than the American budget because of its population. So the family is the fundamental core of an economy. And when the author talks about monogamy, polygamy, so he brings out the difference and says how polygamy practiced by some nations, some countries, has a deliberating effect on that economy, and that you are seeing across the world. So he talks about culture, civilization, family, all entwined into this trinity of sociology, political science, and economy. Not long before, this country was a great economic engine. During the 1st and 15th century, India 10% of the world GDP. When was that? When the family structure bond was very strong. When the family bond deteriorated, you see the economy deteriorating. You can call that American economy is very strong. But you saw what happened in the pandemic. It takes much longer for American economy to rebound. And we are already talking about rebounding in this country. It is because of the family structure. When we said that we will not be able to cross this 10 crore vaccine by 2024, 2025, 2026, people were estimating and trying to find out by mathematical models. We have already crossed 100 crore vaccine now. It is because of the family structure. When we go and vaccinate, we take our brother, sister, friends, neighbors, everybody come, we'll go and... But that does not happen in an American economy. That person, he takes and he goes and he does not know whether he has taken vaccine or not. So the family structure is the central theme, and I really appreciate how this author has been able to emphasize and bring out that sole single point as a wonderful treatise of this book, sir. This entire book is only about how a family structure can impact the economy. I have 15 minutes time. I have spoken. I should not speak because the others are there to speak. And I can go on like this, talking about various subjects and economics and the author, but one thing, I'm really overwhelmed by this effort. Sir, may God give you all the strength to write such books which will be useful to the society. I thank the Indian Institute of World Culture. I thank Professor, every time I get Professor V, my mentor V. Nagaraj, Tejaswini Anantkumar, and Venkatesh for giving me an opportunity to talk about this book and also release this book. May this book be an eye-opener to all the experts in this country and across the world. Thank you, Vanan.
Sir, thank you very much for your valuable words. ಒಬ್ಬ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಜ್ಞ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬರು ಬರೆದಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪುಸ್ತಕವನ್ನು ವಿಮರ್ಶೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದನ್ನು ನಾವೀಗ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಮುಂದೆ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಜ್ಞರಲ್ಲದೇ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥವರು ಈ ಪುಸ್ತಕದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕಾಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಕೇಳೋರಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಮುಂದಿನ ಭಾಷಣಕಾರರು ಯಾರು ಸಮಾಜ ಸೇವೆ ತಮ್ಮನ್ನು ತಾವು ಪೂರ್ಣ ತೊಡಗಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ನಿನ್ನೆ ತಾನೇ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಅವರ ಸಮಾಜ ಸೇವೆಯನ್ನು ಗುರುತಿಸಿ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗೆ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂಥ ಗೌರವವನ್ನು ನವೆಂಬರ್ 1 ಕನ್ನಡ ರಾಜ್ಯೋತ್ಸವದಂದು ಸಲ್ಲಿಸಿದೆ. ಅಂತಹ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಪರಿಚಯ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ, ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಪರಿಚಯ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ತೇಜಸ್ವಿನಿ ಅನಂತಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರು ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡೆ.
ವೇದಿಕೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಆಸೀನರಾಗಿರುವಂತಹ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರೀಯ ಸಂಘ ಚಾಲಕರಾದಂಥ ಹಿರಿಯರಾದಂಥ ಶ್ರೀ ವಿ. ನಾಗರಾಜ್ ಅವರೇ, ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯದ ಉಪಕುಲಪತಿಗಳು, ಅವರ ಡಿಗ್ರಿಗಳನ್ನು ಮತ್ತು ಎಲ್ಲ ವಿಷಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಅವರ ಜ್ಞಾನಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ಭಯ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ನಾನು ಅವರಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭದಲ್ಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ಸರ್ ನನ್ನ ಸಮಯವನ್ನು ನಿಮಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ. ಅವರು ತಗೊಂಡು ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಕಂಪ್ಯೂಟರ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನಿಕ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ಸಲ್ಲಂತೂ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಹಿರಿಯರಿಂದ ಅವರ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಶಿಷ್ಯವೃತ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಪ್ರಾರಂಭಿಸಿದಂಥವರು. ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ವೇಣುಗೋಪಾಲ್ ಅವರೇ, ಶ್ರೀ M.R. Venkatesh, who is the central focus of today's program. I had seen him in TV programs and heard about him, and when I spoke to him, he told he knew Anant Kumar very well. They used to discuss about various things in Delhi. And when he called me, I was really taken aback. I'm really so happy to be here, and I'm part of release of such a wonderful book. When I was hearing Professor Venugopal, and also I could do a quick glance, especially in the morning today, somehow last 3-4 years, 3-4 days after I got this book in my hand, as usual it is, especially for a woman and also for a person who is involved directly on the ground planting trees on Sunday. Since morning our work of cooking starts, not just 4 days back, 4 people back at home, but it is thousands of students, and now it is after 19 months we have opened our kitchen again. So got involved in this rice, dal and vegetables cutting, this, that, and water, fuel, and literally coming out of that and reading such a wonderful book. I always wanted to read, go through, but I'll assure M.R. Venkatesh I'm going to take out, definitely I'll take out time, read this. When Professor Venugopal sir said he has read 100 pages, I'm really thinking how many days I will take, but definitely I will take out time and go through. But yeah, and also respected all the dignitaries of the dais, all my sisters and brothers. I was wondering what to speak, but when you have invited me here, I am not an economics student. I have to say I am not because Professor Venugopal always keeps reminding me, you are an engineer, electronics engineer. I don't know, I am not a student of engineering also. Our education institutions probably we have forgotten what we have studied, because there is no opportunity for us to really implement it, or what we studied, whether we studied our education itself, that institution itself is incorrect, or the later what we are doing is incorrect. Somehow none of us are able to connect both. It is there in every field. Unfortunately, we are talking the same even after 75 years of independence. Somehow we are not able to connect our various institutions. You have mentioned all those institutions, our education, our administration, our legal things. So many things. Somehow, as Indians, as a Bharatiya, we are doing wonderfully well. With all that, probably it is that Adamya Chetana, that intrinsic power within us, we are able to go forward, but somehow we are not able to relate what our institutions are teaching us, what our institutions are preaching. At the same time, our life, our way of thinking. Since last couple of days, I have been attending 75th year celebration of Indian independence, and I really feel this is the right program. We can really call this as the real 75th year of independence, because the thought of thinking, I don't want to call it as redefining, but the right defining of our Arthashastra, the Bharatiya Arthashastra. M.R. Venkatesh has started that, and I think although it is late, but there is a start, and we are fortunate that we have started thinking in that direction. The whole concept of Sarve Janaha Sukhino Bhavantu, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, not just my family, but the whole universe as a family concept is what we keep on saying it in our prayers. When we were young, it is taught to us. Even there are so many books on Swami Vivekananda, but how many of us have really read it? But all of us, literally every Indian, remembers Swami Vivekananda's Chicago speech, the first line. I mean, really, even I don't know what was the remaining things what he said, but the first sentence, my brothers and sisters of America. That itself, the brother and sister itself, is who is the brother, who is the sister. It is a family, and the whole concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, our life is surrounding on the family system. It is still there. Especially I have to speak about it here with you, that I want to give two incidences which especially these happened in last 2-3 years, and normally in every speech of mine, whether it is in a midday meal school, government primary school, or in a platform like this, I will not complete my speech without mentioning that one small tweet of mine which I had done it 3 years back. How do you cut the milk cover packet in the morning? Instead of cutting the corner, removing the piece, make sure that while opening the milk packet, make sure that you don't take out the piece. If I would have just written that, I don't know how many likes I would have got. But I continued that. I just written 2 more lines. Every day in Bangalore, 50,000, if all of us separate the piece while cutting the plastic cover, only in Bangalore we will get 50,000 small plastic covers, which cannot be, they are so small that they just get into the dustbins, they cannot be segregated. Because they cannot be segregated, you cannot recycle them, and these small plastic covers get into either soil or water and finally come back to us in the form of microplastic. Instead, it is normally in all environment related talks, we talk about plastic, we talk about waste management. I didn't end there. I read, instead of separating the piece, make sure that you don't separate it. If all of us follow, we can save 50,000 small pieces getting into the dustbins. And after that, of course, earlier people always used to recognize me as Mrs. Anant Kumar or through Adamya Chetana. But after that, last 2-3 years, wherever I go, people say, you said that we are following it. Every day morning it could be advocates or school or homemakers. That small act of them, it is difficult. Cutting it straight and taking out milk in the morning in a hurry, it is difficult. But why are people following it? Thousands of people are following it not because Tejaswini Anant Kumar said. It is because it is not that they just think about their milk or their coffee, their tea. They know the consequences. That small act of theirs can bring in lot of a change. And this is one example where that concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the concept of everyone is same, the whole concept of the Bharatiya concept itself says God is in me, God is in everyone, God is in dog, cat, God is in trees. That whole concept is there in us. Only thing is our institutions are not supporting to show it probably. One more thing which I experienced in pandemic time was, this is in last year, March 25th or 26th. Our kitchen was closed. We were trying to put the lock into our midday meal kitchen because since last 17 years we have not closed even on a single day. And we were almost, it needs lot of preparation even to close a big kitchen where we used to cook every day for 50,000, 60,000 students. So I was in the process of closing it, and then we all know suddenly there was a requirement of cooking because a lot of people were homeless, there was no kitchen in their houses or they had no homes at all, and got a call from Labour Commissioner that around 1.5 lakh people have no kitchen, no food. How many food you can prepare from your kitchen? I told him I have sent all my cooks home. Nobody is there in Bangalore except me and some of our volunteers. I don't know how to operate the boiler. I don't know how to cut vegetables in this scale. But they said something to be done. I requested our volunteers. They said, let's start. Let's do at least for 1,000 people or 2,000. We opened the kitchen I recollected my engineering and some mechanical engineering, made the boiler was made on, and we started cooking for 5,000. Within 4 or 5 days we cooked, every day used to cook for 20,000 people. Cooking and packing and reaching out to people. And all this was done by volunteers. More than 120, 150 people were involved in that lockdown period. There was no vehicles for them to reach. Majority were women. Why I am saying it is, they don't know who are eating the food. They don't, many a times our Kannadigas, we keep always telling that the people come from other countries, people come from North India and they have spoiled all our culture. All that we always used to speak. But our food of all these 20,000 packets used to go to, naturally not to Kannadigas. I don't think any of our Kannadigas needed food because all of them had a nice kitchen in their home, their wives, and they used to cook at home. But all these were, we don't know who they are from different states. But why did our volunteers came all the way? Some came, they walked for 4 to 5 kilometers to volunteer to pack the food or cut the vegetables and went back home. Nobody asked for any award, no appreciation, nothing. And that is the real Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the concept. And then I realized, we always used to say, there is no Bharatiyata, everything, like our food has become Western, our dresses have become Western. We are slowly losing out, we always were discussing. But these two things, I have now confidence, although it is late, I am sure we will bounce back. India will bounce back. People like M.R. Venkatesh, of course we have V. Nagaraj, who has been, I heard him first time when I was in second year engineering, and he's been motivating people since last 50 years, and because of people like him, people like Venkatesh and so many people in the audience as well, I am sure we will, I will not say redefine, but we will, whatever our earlier people had defined, already we have everything, we need to change it a little bit, create those institutions who will make us real Bharatiya, the real independent thinking Bharatiya. And this is I think this is the big leap to in that direction. I congratulate M.R. Venkatesh, and I also thank him for inviting me here. I don't know what economics means, again I am repeating, but I'll assure you I will definitely read the book and try to understand more about this topic. Thank you.
ನಿಜಕ್ಕೂ ಅನ್ನಪೂರ್ಣೆಯೇ ಆಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ತೇಜಸ್ವಿನಿ ಅನಂತಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರು ಪುಸ್ತಕದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವಸುದೈವ ಕುಟುಂಬಕಂ, ನಾವು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಮನೆ ಅಂತ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ, ವಿಶ್ವವೇ ಒಂದು ಮನೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ವಿಚಾರದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ತಮ್ಮ ಅನುಭವಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಸ್ವಾರಸ್ಯಕರವಾಗಿ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳ, ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ ಯಾಕೆ ಭಾರತದ ಅನೇಕ ರಾಜ್ಯಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರ ಪ್ರಾಜೆಕ್ಟ್ಗಳು ನಡೀತಾ ಇದೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಸಹಸ್ರಾರು ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಅನ್ನಪೂರ್ಣೆಯಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ತೇಜಸ್ವಿನಿ ಅನಂತಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರು ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಅವರ ಭಾಷಣಕ್ಕೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಮುಂದಿನ ಭಾಷಣ ಶ್ರೀಯುತ ವಿ. ನಾಗರಾಜ್ ಅವರು. ನಾಗರಾಜ್ ಅವರು ವಿಜ್ಞಾನದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಆಸಕ್ತಿ ಇರುವಂಥವ್ರು, ಇನ್ನು ಸಮಾಜ ಸಂಘಟನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ತಮ್ಮನ್ನು ತಾವು ತೊಡಗಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿರುವಂಥವ್ರು. ಅವರು ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ವಿಷಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಏನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಕೇಳೋ ಕುತೂಹಲ ನನಗೂ ಇದೆ. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕೇಳೋಣ.
ನಮಸ್ಸರ್ವೇಭ್ಯ. ಆದರಣೀಯ ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ವೇಣುಗೋಪಾಲ್ ಅವರೇ, ಆದರಣೀಯ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ತೇಜಸ್ವಿನಿ ಅನಂತಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರೇ, ಆದರಣೀಯ M.R. ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್ ಅವರೇ, ಆದರಣೀಯ ನಿಖಿಲ್ ಶಾ ಅವರೇ, ಮತ್ತು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸೋದರಿಯರೇ, ಸೋದರರೇ. ಪ್ರಸನ್ನ ಅವರೇನೋ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ವಿಷಯ ಏನು ಮಾತನಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ. ಹೌದು, ನಾನು ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ ಮತ್ತು ಇತಿಹಾಸದ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಪುರಾತತ್ವ ಆರ್ಕಿಯಾಲಜಿ ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿ. ಇಕನಾಮಿಕ್ಸ್ ನನ್ನ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಆದರೆ MRV ಅವರು ಬರೆದಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪುಸ್ತಕದ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೇಳೋಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ ಪಡ್ತೀನಿ. ನಾನು the moment you look at the book, the impression is it is a book on classical economics, because the format, the title, the rupee symbol, then the words that has been used there, retaining and balance, all these things are part of economic vocabulary. And not only that, it is more so of a chartered accountant vocabulary. All these things. Then, if you turn the pages, in the second page itself, you will start reading so many things which has nothing to do with economics. There are words like family, marriage, culture, civilization, monogamy. One can understand there is some relation between civilization and other things. But what has got into relation with polygamy and monogamy? So one will be perplexed to know what exactly MRV wants to communicate through this book. But once you go through the book, you will be wonderstruck. The author MRV has informed to the readers why he wrote this book. In the first page of the preface itself, how he chanced to see a book, Great Economist, by Linda Ewell. Linda Ewell. And she dedicated the book to the family. And afterwards, MRV writes, there was nothing. It was very conspicuous by the absence anything about family. So now the question arises. Now the question comes, that made MRV to write this book of 480 pages with 10 chapters. What made Linda Ewell not to write this book? What made him to write this book? That is the question. That is the very gist of the first chapter, the family. The family of MRV, his experience in the family, and the values that the family has taught made him to write this 480 pages book. And the samskaras he got in his family made him to write this book. It made him that I should answer this. The question that germinated in his mind, why she has not written anything about family. Family is so important. And what is the connection between all these things? He was able to put it in this book. Our Bharatiya, especially our Hindu culture and Hindu society, considers family as the basic unit of society. This is what working in MRV's mind. And in Manusmriti, it clearly states that Yatha Nadi Nada Sarve Sagare Yanti Samsthitam Tataiva Shramana Sarvagraste Yanti Samsthitam. Yatha Nadi Nada Sarve Sagare Yanti Samsthitam. Small rivulets and big rivers, everything ultimately get Samsthitam, shelter in a ocean. Similarly, all activities and all ashramas in the society, they find shelter in Grihastha. That is why we have got the word Dhanyo Grihastha-ashrami. That is the basis of this entire book on which he has written. And the sacred samskaras of the marriage, I am deliberately using the word, the sacred samskaras of the marriage. Because marriage is not a contract in our Hindu context. In other cultures, it is a contract. Here, it is a sacred samskara. I don't find a better word samskara in English. There is no such better word for it, samskara. So in the sacred samskara of marriage, the grihasthashrama is formed. Actually, the very word vivaha, it connotes these things. The Sanskrit word vahati means you have to carry a load. Carrying a load is vahati. And V upasarga co-joins it and makes it vivaha. That means you have got a special, you have to carry a special load. It is not special load, it is special responsibility. And this is the samskara a family gives to the young children and to the couple, newlywed couples in the family. And that is why family becomes such an important thing. And the grihastha, that is the householder, who have initiated into this vivaha, he has many duties, responsibilities and obligations. Our shastras never speak of the rights of the householder. It speaks of the obligations. It speaks of the responsibilities. And the obligations, which we call, I am using the word obligation because I don't get a better word for our runa. We have got Deva Runa, Rishi Runa and Pitru Runa, and along with it, we have got Samajika Runa. It is a new concept introduced in Mahabharata, Samajika Runa. And it is because of Samajika Runa only, because of our obligation to the society, Dr. Tejaswini Ananthakumar is doing so much for the sake of the society, including a plastic sachet, how to use it and how to cut it. That is what is very much important. These samskaras are inculcated in the family. They are the basic building blocks of the society. This is what MRV wants to say in the book, in the very first chapter itself. Our whole culture and civilization, our policies on economics, and all our political conflicts or political theories, the statecraft, everything is based on these things, and that is why he gives the subheading, the eternal way. The family way, the samskaras, the values that have molded us, they are the eternal way. MRV explains all these things in 10 chapters of this book. The first chapter is on monogamy and family, and the last chapter is Ramarajya. Sri Rama is not only a Maryada Purushottama, he is Ekapatni Vratastha. That is why from monogamy to Ekapatni Vratastha and in between the Ramarajya, that is what he wants to describe in this book. He clearly points out that the present economic crisis and also in our country and also in the world and the consequences of it on all other fields in the society is because we have deviated completely from what our Bharatiya culture has taught us, has molded us. For the past 200-300 years, the entire is following what we call the Western civilization, the Western culture, the impact of the Industrial Revolution, and all these things. No doubt I am a science student, but technology has overtaken science today. Science is for the pursuit of truth, but technology has for the comforts. No doubt we require technology for our comforts, but comforts are overtaking us, and because of that, all this greed, all these conflicts, all these things are because of these things. And there is no institution like a family in the Western culture or Western civilization to teach these values. At least, as Dr. Tejaswini said, that the family system and the value still remains with us, with our Bharatiya culture. And it is also getting slowly eroded. For that, we should not allow that one. That is what we have to do. And in other chapters, he clearly, MRV states, why this state of affairs has taken place in the Western civilization. Because if you read some of the novels or articles which are written some say 75 or 100 years ago, in the Western culture also, family played an important role. I had seen a film, an American film, where it is on a joint family, and on some festival day where they have to cut a turkey, the first son and his wife, they could not reach on time. The function started, and the second brother tried to cut the turkey, but the others in the family doesn't allow. They say that family values say that it is the first son who has to do it. They wait for them. That is the story. It was an old film, probably produced in 1950. So family played an important role even in Western culture some time back. How it got deviated? What happened? For that he traces. It is a very, very bold statement, because the entire Western civilization, Western culture, including science, it depends on Christian theology. The Christian theology, which clearly says that you are a sinner. There is something wrong with the man and the human being, and there should be some external agency to give salvation to it, and that God is the external agency. God is somewhere outside this world, He is away from us. That is the concept. And slowly it evolved in such a manner that instead of God, they substituted it with state or with market. That is what he beautifully writes in the book, how these replacements have taken place. But whereas in our philosophy, it is the manifestation of God everywhere. It is Ekoham Bahusyama. There is a beautiful story in the Upanishad which clearly says that God was alone. And he felt very much bored. He said, let me become many. Ekoham Bahusyama. That is why everything, according to our philosophy, everything is God. And it is the pulsating thing. And modern physics today is tending towards it, that the whole entire universe is full of pulsating energy, everything. To that, modern physics is tending. And he also quotes Heisenberg also. He quotes in the second chapter about Heisenberg and others. And he beautifully explains how liberalism, capitalism and communism are offshoots of this Christian theology. And because of this conflict and because of this problem, Western civilization is there. And unfortunately, after independence, we started copying more and more. And he has written that one. And when I was reading, I was shocked to read that our taxation policy is nothing but the 1935 Indian Independence Act. Government of India Act. What the colonial government had wanted to do, how they taxed us, why they taxed us, the same thing has been continued. I didn't know that. After reading this book, I came to know that all such things, there will be so many things, such things. And also, as Vedagopal also said, that or Nikul Shah said, that some of the chapters he has titled it very, very nicely. To destroy family, Marx goes to market. It is a very nice caption he has given. And he writes on the power of restraint, which anathema for the liberals, and also the so-called progress thinkers. They don't want any restraints at all. A society cannot function without restraints. And that is why our philosophical concepts are that the Chaturvidha Purushartha Kalpana. Many people think that the Bharatiya concept is that it is devoid of a comfortable life or luxury or any such thing. No such thing. Actually, our ancient seers said, Jivema Shardashatam. Let us live 100 years. How? Nandama Shardashatam. That is what they have told. For that, there should be a restraint. For that, we had the concept of Chaturvidha Purushartha, Dharma, Artha, Moksha, Kama. And Justice Ramajoyis, he has beautifully written the he has explained the concept of Trivarga Siddhanta, where moksha is not taken. It is the ultimate goal. But for the society and for the individual, it is the Trivarga. To fulfill all your desires, kama, you require artha. And for that artha, how you have to earn? According to dharma. These concepts have been very beautifully, they have been explained in his book. In all his chapters, he has very beautifully, he has explained it. And also, because of these Western concepts, so much greed it has entered into science, technology and everything. Yesterday in Glasgow, Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of Britain, inaugurated the UN conference on climate change. And our Prime Minister also is participating in that one. There, he used a word, and Boris Johnson says, world is trapped to a doomsday device. Actually, it is a word from, it is a line from James Bond novel. Actually, James Bond has been tied to a bomb, and that is a doomsday device. And Boris Johnson has taken it and he says, the world is strapped to a doomsday device. Who has strapped it? We ourselves. Following the Western concepts in all aspects, we have ourselves, we have tied to the doomsday device. How to come out of it? As she said, Vasudeva Kotakumukam, all these concepts, we should come out of the greed, and even our artha and kamana, they should be according to dharma. This is what he wanted to enunciate in this book. And authors like MRV is very much needed, because very much bold. I am deliberately using the word bold because there are so many scholars who knows that what is the truth, but they are not prepared to spell out it. Sometime back, one scholar with whom I was interacting with history and archaeology and other things, and he was speaking to me about how Aryan theory is false, Aryan migration theory false and all those things. I told him, a professor like you should write it. He should give in your speeches these things so that the truth will come out. He said, no, I am not that bold. He said, I don't want to be in the controversy. But whereas he has clearly written what is the problem in this world today. So people like MRV is very much required to expound our Bharatiya philosophy in the modern context. See how he was able to intermingle both the modern day economics and our Bharatiya concepts. It's so beautiful in this book. Everybody should read this one. So such more books should come, and people like MRV are very much required, so that it is not only beneficial to our country, it will be beneficial to the whole world. And with one more sentence, I will close my talk. Jean Pierre Lehmann is a Swedish economist. In 2006, he wrote an article in New York Times. On April 19, 2006, he wrote an article in New York Times. In that, it's a 6-page article. In that article, he writes about all things that are plaguing the world. All things, political conflicts, war, diseases, and also about the climatic change, nuclear war, so many things he writes. Finally, he says that if planet Earth is to be saved, 3 things are required. And he said, those 3 things are moral order for the society, spirituality, and an ethical compass for the individual. Final sentence, he writes, all these things are available only in Hindu philosophy. This is what he writes. That is what very much required. That is what MRV has done in this book. I once again congratulated M.R. Venkatesh for writing this book. I also, like all others, wish that he will write more and more such books, and these books will become textbooks in our universities. Our economists, political scientists, and others should read these things. Instead of reading those which are outdated, he should read. With these words, I will close. Thank you very much.
ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಕೊನೆ ಹಂತಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಶ್ರೀಯುತ ವಿ ನಾಗರಾಜ್ ಅವರು ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಪಕ್ಕಕ್ಕಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅಥವಾ ಸಪ್ರೇಟಾಗಿ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ವಿಷಯ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಅದು ಭಾರತೀಯ ಫಿಲಾಸಫಿಯ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಮುಖಗಳು ಒಂದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಸೇರಿಕೊಂಡೇ ಹೋಗಿದೆ. ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಭಾಗ ಮಾತ್ರ. ಅದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ರಾಮಾಜೋಯಿಸ್ ಅವರ ಪುಸ್ತಕವನ್ನು ಅವರು ಉಲ್ಲೇಖ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಧರ್ಮ ಅರ್ಥ ಕಾಮಗಳು ಒಂದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಪೂರಕ, ಒಂದು ಸದೃಢವಾದ ಸಮಾಜ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣಕ್ಕೆ ಇವೆಲ್ಲವೂ ಪರಸ್ಪರ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಸಂಗತಿಯನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರದ ಎಕನಾಮಿಕ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ಟ್ರಾಂಗ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಇಸ್ ದಿ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಪದ ಕೂಡ ಇವತ್ತು ಲೇಖಕರ ಪುಸ್ತಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಸಂಗತಿಯನ್ನು ಮತ್ತೆ ವಿ ನಾಗರಾಜ್ ಅವರು ಬಲವಾಗಿ ಪ್ರತಿಪಾದನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಕೊನೆ ಹಂತಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ವಂದನಾರ್ಪಣೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇದ್ರ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಪಟ್ಟಿ ಪ್ರಕಾರ ವಂದನಾರ್ಪಣೆ ಆಧರೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅವರೇ ಮಾತಾಡಿ ವಂದನಾರ್ಪಣೆಯನ್ನು ಅವರೇ ನಡೆಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ.
Matrashakti on the dais, of the dais. Nagaraj ji, Venugopal ji, dear friends Prasanna, Gopi ji, Nikunsha, some of my classmates who have come to meet me after such a long time, I'm meeting them. This is to prove I went to school. My brother is also here, Ramesh. Sir, you spoke about my family and you said you should have had some good discipline in your family. I'm always called indisciplined in my family. So I'm very glad you have identified the discipline. I will showcase that to my relatives, friends, cousins, everybody. You have also used the word bold. I wish you come with me to Chennai and say that to my wife. Universal. Actually, chapter 4 is the beginning of the book. Begins with chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita, especially verses 36 to 45, where Krishna is confronted by Arjuna in the consequences of the war. It has been haunting me for several years. Krishna answers so many things. Chapter 1 to chapter 2 to 18, and 18th chapter verse 63, he says, Arjuna, I have told you everything what I have to tell you, now you can decide what you have to do. But chapter 1 verses 36 to 45 are on the issue that if war comes, men will die, women will go widow, there will be family structure which will be broken, children will get orphaned, discipline of families will go. All these things he asks. And that is the basis on which I have thought I will revolve around and write this particular book, especially on, there has been tremendous heat generated on chapter 1, especially on monogamy. In fact, most societies have made a quantum leap forward whenever they have been monogamous. This has been the correlation. In fact, the greatest discovery of man is not gravity equals mc square or fire or wheel or calculus. In my opinion, it will be family. Institution of marriage will be the greatest discovery because it reduces sexual competition and removes the equation from the equation the alpha male. Most animals are alpha males. And once the alpha male was tamed, civilization was born. And it is this economics that is now being taught in schools, colleges, Nobel laureates are being produced. It is not for the disciplined, not for the civilized, it is for the uncivilized, it is for the animals. It caters to the animal instinct within us. So a serious question has to be asked as to whether what we see in economics, that is why chapter 8 is provocatively titled, whether we need economic reforms or whether economics itself requires reforms. So on this question of monogamy, even late as 55-60, in 1955-60, America would not give visa to a lady called Ingrid Bergman. She was an actress, old timers will recall, because she had a child outside of wedlock with an Italian director called Rossellini. Whenever Italians come, there is a problem. Just understand. So they said, this lady, if she comes, she's a celebrity. She comes to America, our children will be spoiled. I am not talking about Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga. I am talking about 1955-60. But in the last 60 years, in fact in 60s, a single mother could not get a flat in America's New York. So this is not Bengaluru, this is not Malleshwaram we are talking about. This is New York, the most progressive liberal city in the world, 60 years back. That is why chapter 3 has been, chapter 2 has been titled, Mummy, What is a Daddy? Because black, especially blacks in America, have completely dynamited their family structure. Thanks to President Johnson, who said we have to do something for the unwed mother. So what did they do? They created creches in schools, whereas pregnant child could deliver a child in class 10 or 11, go and feed her child in the recess period. In fact, I have written one article in 2008 or 2009, so I quote it everywhere. It's very important because this is going to come to India. In Massachusetts, in a public health, in a primary public health center, there were more than usual, issue is, it is more than usual pregnancy test by high school students. So the director of that center, medical center, calls the school and says, lot of girl children are coming and testing more than normal. Usually 400 will come, suddenly 800 are coming. What is happening? And in that school there is a condom vending machine. Despite it, suddenly there is an increase. Then they realized girl children have entered into a pact, a bet who will become pregnant first. It's a challenge. And when they are actually indisciplined, their father cannot question the child because the child will press 911 and call the police. You know, that is why whenever our NRI friends come here, they will whack their children here. Suddenly. Because why are you whacking this? No, that day you know what he did. Why did you whack there? No, my son will press 911. So I will whack here. Till I get down from the plane, I will whack him. Otherwise you cannot do. A father cannot question a son or a daughter. Absolute individualism has crept in. And that is how our our Indian constitution has been modeled. And that is because the Christian theology believes that every man is a born sinner. If I were a Christian and this were a Christian congregation, I would have not started with Matri Shakti. I would have said Pavi Hade. Because I can see only Pavis. I cannot divine, but I neither see the soul nor the divinity. Because I believe we are all carrying the burden of Adam and Eve, and that is how Thomas Rousseau, I quote Richard Dawkins, Karl Marx, I quote from Thomas Hobbes, Leviathan, 1651. The omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient state has been created. Because Christians believe that they cannot do anything good by themselves. A Christian cannot by himself attain salvation. He requires Christ. In India, you can say, I will do puja myself and get salvation or moksha. I can do karma, I can do moksha. I don't do anything, I can get moksha. You have, it's like a bouquet. But except through salvation, and that too believing in Christ, and that is why Christ is the deliverer. You cannot get salvation. The same ideas have been transplanted in most of the Western ideas, and that has been affirmed by a brilliant author called Charles Boyce, which I quoted. And Charles Boyce has been the inspiration also for this book. That he says, born bad is the predominant idea that dominates Western thinkers, even today. Whether they are in the field of biology, evolutionary biology like Dawkins, or sociologists like Karl Marx, or constitutional nation theory state propounded by Thomas Hobbes or Rousseau. You take any field, when in most of the Abrahamic faiths, the debate till 1980 was whether women can write a check or not. Whether women is equal to men was debated whole of 20th century. And in our system, it is feminine, divine. And in those systems, feminine is evil. And how much of imbalance has crept within the Western societies because of a lack of balance between man and woman? How much of balance has kept in because man is not able to do his duties? You created an omnipotent state to say that don't worry, the state will substitute for your nanny. Then you will have a joint secretary who will come to your house and sing the nanny song. That is how the Western idea is. That is how the Western state is created. And that is how, as I think you pointed out, sir, that how much of work that our family does, how much of our protection is given by our families. It's a phenomenal quantum leap that our forefathers have done. And that is how I would say that we will have to refashion our economics. And to refashion our economics, we have to refashion our constitution. A civilization, have you seen this movie called Onion? The hero suffers from multiple personality disorder. Morning is okay. Suddenly in the afternoon he becomes Romeo. Then in the evening he becomes a villain. It's the same fellow. He has multiple personality. We are also suffering from the same multiple personality disorder. When we deal with, say, Nagaraji, we are all Bharatiya. But when we go to Mr. Nagaraj, Joint Secretary, Government of India, we will say we are Indians. When we talk to Nagaraji, we will talk about our duties. When we go to Government of India, we will talk about our rights. And we will say inalienable, thanks to Keshavananda Bharati and other judgments, it is become inalienable, it cannot be even disturbed. We are a civilizational state, we are Bharat. We are not Indians, we are Bharatiyas. We have to write our constitution, we have to redraft our constitution based on our civilizational values. We have to make this call today so that at least next 24 years, by the time we reach our 100th year of our independence, we have a constitution that reflects the basic ethos of this country, which is Karmanyavadhikarasya. We cannot allow this drift to go on. We cannot allow Sensex to be at 60,000 and we cannot say that we are feeding 80 crore people free food grains. The inequity is stark. It is telling us that something is fundamentally flawed in the way we have structured our economy. I have raised the questions, I have not provided answers. In fact, several scholars who have read this book have said, Venkatesh, you have not provided solutions. I have said, first let us bring fundamental duties in part 3 of the constitution, let us make it justiciable. If you have more than 2 children, you cannot file a writ in the court. Start with something as fundamental as this. It will be justiciable. You cannot be multiplying like pigs and also say that this is my fundamental rights. That I'm sorry to say that this is not what we were promised. What we were promised in the run-up to the independence movement was Ramarajya. Gandhiji has repeatedly used the word Ramarajya. But what we got was a socialist, democratic, secular constitution. Completely bereft of Ramarajya. So we need to go back to our roots. We need to do our calculus. We need to go back to our drawing board. Of course, the independence movement took a heavy toll. We were a civilization that was in constant war for 1,400 years. It is no joke. We are the only civilization we have survived. And when we had to write the constitution, we had a bloody partition going on. It was not an easy task. And the framers of the constitution did a phenomenal job. We must salute them. But it is also incumbent on this generation to also understand that shelf life of that constitution is well past that expiry date. It was a medicine, no doubt. It is like Remdesivir, which was approved by our people in May. But in July they said, don't take it, it will kill you. So it is, you have to treat it like Remdesivir. So we have to move forward. And it is more important that youngsters, especially law students, sociologists, economists, all have to put their thoughts forward. I only thank many ideas that have flown in, have, as you very rightly pointed out, from Sri Gurumurthy ji. People like Dr. Swami have refined several economic ideas with whom I had enormous discussions. You can go to, in fact, I always tell this also, you can go to Rama Kovil on a Ramanavami day and have a pravachan that Rama should be Wali was absolutely covered is wrong. Then perform the puja, take the prasad and go home peacefully. There will be no problem. Likewise with Dr. Swami, you can go and say that, sir, you are wrong, he will listen. Then he will say, yes, this is my view, this is your view. You can have your view and you can go back. But he will enrich you with so much of knowledge. That rarely do I see in people nowadays. And these are the people, Professor Bajaj, who has written a seminal book on Ayodhya. The first 40 pages are a must read to understand the differentials between a civilization state and a nation state. So many people I have to thank. And for this function, I will have to necessarily thank M.R. Prasanna, not a relative of M.R. Venkatesh. People should not get confused. So it's a statutory disclosure. And all the more reason what he has done. Of course, people like Nikun Shah. I will be failing in my duty if I don't thank my good friend Nandakumar. Can you just identify yourself, Nandakumar, for all that he has done? He has taken care of me. And several of those people who have helped me. Lastly, I should not forget to thank the Chinese virus, because it gave me abundant time to sit down and pen this book. But for that, it is impossible that I could have got so much of time. I started it somewhere around April 1st and started penning it. Of course, I had jotted down a lot of notes before that, but the Chinese virus lockdown gave me extraordinary amount of time to do this. Thank you all for coming here on a wonderful occasion and greeting me and listening. I would also like to present mementos to the chief guests today. Can you?
I wish to present a small memento to M.R.
Jai.